Hey, we are back on part 8 for some look dev fun with the crystals. Let's dive in. So this is where we left. Let's isolate our crystals and hide the rock base. Gonna just launch a quick render to see where we left the look of these guys. So that shading placeholder was very simple, as you can see. So we're gonna start and we're gonna create a new shader, a RS material that we will use as a test shader. This is the crystal, and that will be for now a test shader that we're gonna plug in the redshift material just so we can try different kind of diffuse. In this case, we're gonna use a curvature first. So by default, the radius is way too big, at least for my scale. So we can reduce it, something around 0.01, and it's even a bit too wide, so I'm gonna reduce that a lot more. So the idea is to find values that will help us give some nice breakups, and we're gonna use a noise to drive this radius. So let's first check out what this noise looks like. I'm gonna use displace turbulence and contrast it with the low clip and high clip. I think something like that could work. Okay. Now we could fit those values with a RS change range. And what we're gonna do is copy the values we created inside the curvature that we are just trying right now. So 0.01 would be the maximum radius for these guys. Now we have the noise driving the radius change of this curvature. It's looking already much better. I'm gonna reorganize a bit, create a network box. We're gonna call that curvature. Keep it organized, and let's move that a bit, make some room. And we're gonna create a material blend. So this material is basically like Photoshop, where you can accumulate layers. You have the base color, we are plugging the crystal, and in the second layer, we'll plug this test material. And as a mask, in Photoshop, that would be the alpha, we can plug a blend color. So right now, the blend color is black, so it means it's just revealing the base layer. But as soon as we change to something brighter, it's gonna reveal the layer 1, which is in this case the test layer. So like bright is getting some white stuff because our test shader is white. Now if we plug the curvature mask we just created, it's gonna reveal this shader just on the edges of this crystal. So if we change the color to dark, we have some dark color on the edges, but if we put some white, we got some white kind of edges on this crystal. So I'm gonna use another noise just to drive the diffuse of this test shader, which will be now some kind of breakup shader. So we'll have some dark variation, white variation on the edges. I think that could work. Let's move on. So I think this curvature is still a bit too wide. So I'm gonna reduce the max range to 0.005 and half for the minimum range. All right, this crystal looks a bit too solid. I'm gonna go inside the crystal shader and increase the refraction so we can see through them a little bit better. Something around 0.85. Yeah, that's better. Now, what we could do is create another kind of breakups. So this curvature, we can copy paste its shader. We're gonna call that breakup. And in the new test shader, we're gonna use a triplanar. So we're gonna connect it into the diffuse. And let's add a texture sampler. Let's connect it into all the image input, and we're gonna map a little texture that you can find in the project file of this tutorial. So I'm gonna color correct it a little bit so that we can increase the gain and probably reduce the gamma or increase it. Yeah, in that case that could be interesting. And we're gonna play with the scale because those scratches are way too big right now. Something like that could work. Could also play with the rotation to find a better orientation. Okay. Let's move on. So we're gonna plug that into a new layer. So let's reassign the blend material, and in the layer 2, we're gonna grab the layer color 2 input and plug that on our new shader. We'll also take the triplanar and connect it into the blend color. So let's remove that from the diffuse and I'm gonna reorganize a bit. That would be the scratches or veins, whatever you want. So let's make it clear, this would be the curvature. Okay. So right now this layer is way too strong. Could also play with the diffuse, see if some darker values would work better. And maybe increase the roughness of the reflection. Think instead of playing with the diffuse, I'm gonna try and decrease the output of the texture. So I'm gonna use a change range and use the new range mix output to color correct this triplanar. If I put something dark, it's not gonna show anything of this shader, but something around 0.5 would mix this layer halfway. Yeah, that could work. Same deal. For the curvature, we actually have an output range integrated into this node, so we could change the output of this curvature with the max slider. For now, let's just set it to 0 so we can see the effect of our second layer only. And gonna fine-tune the range max of our triplanar. And actually, let's use the crop region to speed up the render. That sounds about right. Gonna bring back my curvature layer a little bit. One more thing we could do would be to use the triplanar straight into the crystal shader. In this case, we can use a change range to bring variation into the reflection roughness. And the maximum roughness will be something around 0.3 or 0.2 actually. Let's call this node roughness scratches. It's looking better. Now would be time to fine-tune the crystal shader by bringing some extension. This feature will allow us to decrease the intensity of the light rays as they are traveling inside our objects. So could try a white color of the extension coefficient and increase the scale to something like 5. We already see how the light is getting lost in our crystal and just give a bright touch in the inside surfaces. So I did 2 snapshots to compare the extension using different values. So I was pretty happy with the darkest one, the value of 5. And I tried another lighting scenario just to see, and I realized our secondary layers of breakups are actually a bit too much. So going back into the main tech and gonna do some changes in the gamma and in the level as well. And I think the curvature is spreading too much, so I'm gonna reduce that to something like 0.0035 in the maximum radius. And I'm gonna add some bump actually. I'm gonna use the curvature inside the bump map. So let's plug it into the bump map of the redshift material. So I'm gonna do a crop region and let's render. So I think that could help. It looks much sharper already. And gonna use a negative value actually so that it's carving the model. So it's pretty subtle, but that would do. So this is the result I get. Compared to before, it's looking a bit clearer. Let's have a look what's going on here. Yeah, I think that could work. So this is a brand new render. So all those breakup layers are way less intense compared to before, and I think this is just bringing a nice little touch. So I did some more changes, but very subtle. So we can see that I'm playing more with the bump. This time I integrated the scratches inside the bump so that we get some more subtle breakups. And we can see different intensities of bump. So what I did was using a RS Max to combine the maximum values of the curvature and the scratches of the triplanar. So yeah, that's pretty much it actually. And just lower the height scale quite a lot so that it's not too blurry. And that's the final result we get.